O'Neill Outside Radio is brought to you by these fine sponsors. CVA muzzleloaders, it's just a better gun. Bojangles' famous chicken and biscuits. Works Power and Garden Tools. Toyota, let's go places. Visit your local Toyota dealer today. Swaggerty Sausage, the finest premium pork sausage products. Tough Shed, great storage sheds and custom buildings.
Timbuktu Outdoors, the ideal solution to live bait.
Arctic Ice, the most durable, versatile, and effective cooler packs for the outdoorsman. Terminator, the best food plot implements on Earth. And the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, state parks, and historic sites.
From Black Powder headquarters in the Bojangles studio from Three Falls Cabin in the North Georgia Mountains, O'Neill Outside presents CVA Radio. For anything in the outdoors, this is your source. Listen in and call the show with your comments or questions. And now, here's O'Neill.
Good morning and welcome to O'Neill Outside, live from the Bojangles studio on Sassafras Mountain. Scott Maxim here, filling in for O'Neill as he and Woman Williams are taking some time off to go gallivant across the United States. Coming to you live in the South on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, and nationwide on Sports Map Radio. Can be heard on great stations like WEEI Boston and the Big Ticket in Dallas. Today, I got a lot of great stuff for you from the outdoors. We're going to be talking about some great rifle calibers for taking deer, the pros and cons of hunting with military surplus rifles, if you've ever thought about doing that. I got some life lessons that can be taught by hunting and fishing to your children, and they're not necessarily related to hunting and fishing. Other life lessons can be learned from that. I've got a Medal of Honor recipient for you this week as well. We'll be talking about him towards the end of the program in the second hour. And throughout the next 2 hours, I will be happy to take your calls at 404-872-0750 in the Atlanta metro area, or outside that, 800-972-8255. The program today is brought to you by these great sponsors: CVA muzzleloaders, Arctic Ice, Tough Shed, Furminator, Timbuktu Outdoors, Works Tools, Striplings, Snellville Heating and Air, Rocco's, home of Jasper's awesome jalapeno poppers, and Riddicritter. When we come back, I've got a lot of great stories from the outdoors about some kids who've caught some record bucks. I've got a Florida man who caught a world record catfish, and a whole lot more. If you want to get on the phone, give us a call, 404-872-0750 or 800-972-8255. Pick up the phone and call us. Let us know what you're getting into this morning before you head on out for your hunting or fishing trip. And if you're going to bring somebody with you, like a son or a daughter, let us know about that too. Share a little family time with us. We'd be happy to hear from you. We'll talk to you in a little bit. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Good morning and welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Scott Maxim filling in for O'Neill this morning. And before I get started with some great stories from the outdoors, I want to let you all know that O'Neill is going to be live on Facebook this Monday. Yeah, that's right. This Monday, September 21st at 6 o'clock p.m., O'Neill will be on Facebook Live, and he'll be taking questions or stories or whatever you'd like to discuss. So make sure you make that a part of your day. And let's just jump right into these stories that I come across. I like to look for examples of how great the outdoors is and what kind of really awesome people partake in hunting, fishing, and so on. And it really doesn't get much better than this gentleman I want to talk about here in my first story. A gentleman by the name of Hank Zhong from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, fueled by a personal loss of a bow that he scrimped and saved for as a kid that was stolen out of his father's truck, he took some extra steps to reunite the owner of a treasured crossbow that he had left behind and that Hank had found in a parking lot at the White River Marsh Wildlife Area in central Wisconsin. Now, Hank's drive to find this owner, of course, was fueled by his loss of that bow. But more than that, he's just a good hunter who realizes that, there's some investment in this tool, and if he doesn't have his crossbow, this person can't go out hunting, and that's just a bloody shame. So, what he decided to do was he took the crossbow, put some word out on Facebook about finding it and where he found it. He had a pretty good idea who had left the crossbow behind, and he also reported the incident to the police. The next day, he went back to where he found the crossbow, and sure enough, met a guy named Jim Bonney, the owner of the crossbow, who had remembered leaving it there before. He had actually gone hunting with him in the previous day and just left it behind when he took off for home. So as a result, the Hunter Ethics Award, recognizing great hunters whose action is symbolic of Wisconsin's hunting heritage and showing extreme ethics, it was awarded to Mr. Hank Zhang just a few days ago. Great job, Hank. That's really awesome of you. Got a great one here about a 14-year-old named Paisley Worth out of Kansas who shot a potentially record-breaking, non-typical white-tailed deer on the 5th of September during Kansas's youth hunting season. She was rifle hunting with her father on family property and shot a 40-point free-range whitetail buck with a gross green score of 282 6/8 of an inch 2 days into that season. They've been keeping tabs on this buck, the family has, for the past 3 years. And when he finally showed up in just the right spot, 25 yards away from young Paisley, she took her shot and scored a potentially record-breaking buck. Now, this is Paisley's fourth. Her previous biggest was a 12-pointer. This one, believe it or not, may be a 40-pointer. So congratulations on that one, Paisley, and good luck in future hunts. I don't know if you'll be able to top that, though. You might have to settle for second best after that, but I do know for a fact that she's going to mount that as a trophy, and deservedly so. Got another one here about a guy who combines not only great ethics, but awesome fishing skills. A gentleman known as the Marathon Man. He's a professional fisherman and named Jeff Kolodzinski, and he began fishing for 24 hours straight near Peoria, Illinois, last Wednesday at 9 a.m., and over that 24-hour period hooked 2,645 fish, which is absolutely amazing. Now, he set out with a 10-foot pole and some live bait to fundraise for a nonprofit for the nonprofit Fishing for Life's Next Gen program, which provides outdoor programs and mentorship to children of military families, which is awesome. His passion, he says, is always to introduce people, especially families, to the sport of fishing, and he thinks how great fishing is because it promotes a love for nature, a healthy lifestyle. It bonds people together in stronger relationships. It clears your head. It provides some relief from all the clatter and clutter of the world. And most of all, it's just fun. So as of Friday, this gentleman has raised $15,000 towards a goal of $20,000, and just want to congratulate him on his efforts. He's going to be verifying that as the official Guinness Book of World Records catch, but he has to beat his previous catch of last year, which was 2,172 fish in 24 hours. So he's done a heck of a job on these two occasions, and more power to him. If he could call and tell us his secret, I'm sure everybody here would love to know. All right, continuing onward, we've got a Florida fisherman who set a state record by catching a 70-pound catfish. Fish fry at your place, my friend. This thing is a monster. Gentleman's name is Levon Noling, and he was angling in the Yellow River when he snagged this monster flathead catfish weighing 69.9 pounds, measuring 48.5 inches, with a girth of 38.25 inches. That is a monster cat, y'all. There's no question about that. So he's going to be sitting there with a ton of catfish steaks for a while to go. He hooked this fish on a rod and reel using live bait, And admittedly, he's fished everything, creeks, oceans, and he never thought in a million years that he would snag a state record on the Yellow River. He just says he was in the right place at the right time. The flathead catfish that he caught is a non-native species found throughout many Florida Panhandle river systems, and they typically are more difficult to catch than other catfish because they live a very solitary lifestyle and they have a preference for long, slow flowing rivers. So congratulations on that super catch down there in Florida, Levon, and good luck to you in future endeavors with your fishing. Maybe you can break your own record, just like the gentleman did a minute ago with his 2,000 fish. All right, I've got one more here. Now, it starts off on a little bit of a negative note, but it finishes on a very positive one. I've got a female hunter here who is basically shrugging off death threats from trolls, online trolls, who don't appreciate her Instagram posts of her displaying her harvests. Her name is Petra Kircheva, and she lives in Vinica, Slovakia. So pardon me for butchering that. But she's hunted for over 13 years, and with her family, this pursuit dates back generations. For her, this isn't a sport. This is a lifestyle. This is everything about what she's about revolves around the outdoors and her passion. So she's had this Instagram account for a while, and she's been putting up posts of her harvests, and all of them ethically hunted, all of them ethically killed, but the people that see these pictures wish her the same death as the animals that she harvests. Now think about that for a moment. What is the point of that? Why get so upset about something you're not going to participate in? Well, because they don't understand the hunter. She takes the time during the off season to feed the animals on her property, on her range, to make sure they survive winters. She's distributed drinking water in summertime to keep them hydrated. She builds feeding facilities. She's dug lakes on her property with her family. She's provided medicine when necessary and has saved the young and injured animals on her property, not to mention also organizing waste collection outings. So what she does with all this knowledge is she teaches kids in school about maintaining nature, about maintaining a flock, growing a flock, keeping the animals close by and healthy so that they can have the best lives that they can have. She also, again, kills ethically, and she also teaches the children that a more natural lifestyle as a result of what you eat, in this case the meat, is a much better way to go, and a self-sufficient lifestyle will serve you in the long run. So, way to take a bunch of lemons and make a really nice glass of lemonade. We're going to be taking off for a couple minutes here, but when we come back, I've got a great bunch of life learning lessons that hunting and fishing skills can teach your children. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on News 95.5 WSB. Good morning and welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Scott Maxim filling in here for O'Neill and taking your calls. 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Give us a call. Let us know what you're doing this morning. If you plan on hitting the lake and doing a little angling, we'd love to know about it. Love to know who you're taking, what you're going after. And it is primitive weapons season, so if you're thinking about hitting the woods and scouting out some bucks, well, let us know what you got in mind for that, too. The number is, again, to call, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. And also want to remind you, check out O'Neill's website, o'neilloutside.com. There you'll find the video on demand section where you can download and watch over 200 O'Neill Outside programs. So if there's anything you missed or anything you'd like to get some information on again, by all means, drop on by o'neilloutside.com and check out the video on demand section. So, as I mentioned before we went to break earlier, I've got some incredibly awesome life lessons for you from hunting and fishing, and many of which seem like they might be specialized to just the outdoors. But with a little application, these principles can be implemented into everyday life, and they also work well in helping raise your children. Now, first of all, as we are doing here this morning, every weekend on O'Neill Outside, we start off bright and early at 4 in the morning. And that's one thing that would be a great thing to teach the kids, because some of the best hunting and fishing, as we all know, occurs early in the morning. So rising early with the kids will help teach them to be more efficient throughout their day, first of all, but it would give them, it'll turn them into a morning person that will help them learn to make more of their time. It will give them more hours in the day to make more money and earn a living, be more productive, and become healthier over the course of your life. So, yeah, waking up early does have its benefits. And, if you need a little highly caffeinated beverage, by all means, do what you got to do. I know I do. Second, how to rig a fishing line. Now, what could a fishing line possibly teach me about life? Well, it teaches the kids, and adults as well, that to get results you want in life, you have to engage in doing some seemingly dull and tedious tasks. You have to work through a process, a specific set of steps to achieve your goal. When rigging a line, you have to make sure you're setting the knots correctly and putting floaters where they need to be and baiting everything up, and all the processes involved in going after the type of fish and the environment where you're at to make it happen. By teaching children that steps are needed to achieve a goal or to achieve a result, what that does, first of all, it shows them that everything that's worthwhile is worth working for. And secondly, if you're going to have anything, you're going to have to work for it. Life doesn't hand you a thing, ladies and gentlemen. We all know this. Sometimes kids feel like it should, that they're entitled to certain things. But it doesn't work that way hunting and fishing. You can think you're entitled all you want to catch all the fish you want or to bag that buck every year, but the bottom line is nature doesn't work that way, and neither does life. Work for your goals, take the steps incrementally to achieve them, and once the goal is set, move on to the next. Moving on to the next one in this list, how to cast a fishing line. Now, what could that do for us later in life? Well, it's a tricky mechanical skill to master. So what we can teach our children from this is that to be good at anything that's a physical skill will require practice, patience, and the willingness to develop the motor skills necessary to do that activity effectively. In other words, you're not going to start off as an expert. You're not going to start off knowing everything you need to know. Learn, be patient, and take the time just to revel in the steps necessary to benefit you in that regard. Okay, another one. This is one I particularly like. How to catch and release fish. See, I'll be honest with you. When I go fishing, I don't take anything with me. I'm a catch and release guy. I just enjoy being out on a lake, hanging out with my friends, and chucking a line over the side to see what I pull up. And what that teaches children is that in life, you don't always get to keep what you acquire. If you practice catch and release, it's one of the best ways to help your children learn this lesson. It gives them an opportunity to talk about also how ecosystems work. So let's say you pulled in a fish that's a little small. Well, you're going to want to put that back into the ecosystem so it can grow to be the adult fish that you want and harvest it properly and balance out nature. And by catching and releasing, we teach our children that life is precious, and there are things we need to consider when harvesting our animals. We can't go after that young buck. We can't go after that doe. We have to learn how ecosystems work as a result, and the catch and release is a great concept in teaching those beliefs. In addition, it also teaches the child that life has value. If you harvest an animal and just chuck it aside or don't waste it, then you're doing yourself and nature a disservice. Each life is precious. So when you harvest this animal, harvest it with respect, knowing that you are harvesting its life force. It is respect the life, I guess, is just really what I'm saying here. Respect the animal and always be ethical with how you go about your business there. I'll tell you what, let's take a second here and go to the phones. I've got John in Lilburn, and let's see if we bring him up. John, good morning and welcome to O'Neill Outside. How are you this morning?
Hey, doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. What can we do for you today?
I have a problem. My brother and I had hired a guy to take us crappie fishing on Oconee, and it would be in the first week of October. And he called yesterday and said he's got to have hip surgery. So I'm out of a guide, and I was just wondering if you knew a group on Lake Oconee or a person or whatever you can say on the air that I can get in contact with, because I really sort of stumped as to where to go from here without just, blind calling, anybody.
Well, I don't know of any guides off the top of my head in the Lake Oconee area, although I do know that Captain Mack will call later. I don't think he works Oconee, though. I think he's primarily Lanier. He might have some answers for you in that regard. The best I can say would be to hit the DNR website and see what is offered up around that Lake Oconee area as far as guides are concerned.
Yeah, and that's kind of the route that I took, but I didn't know if I know sometimes Captain Matt or some of these that'll call in.
I expect him to call in a little bit later on. I really do. He's generally pretty good about it, and with the weather turning right now, I think he's probably going to have a lot to say about what we're going to be looking out for as the water chills on the lake and the patterns that we should be looking for.
Yeah, because I've been watching it close. On the water in Oconee is 86 degrees right now, and they say it needs to get around 60. So I'm hoping for a cold front. But I don't know. Could you mention that to him, perhaps, if it works in the conversation of just some, I don't know what you've got in mind or what he has in mind, but it would give me a good idea where to start. Now, I'm hoping that there's somebody on Lake Oconee that's going, I can pick that guy.
Hey, you know what? That's not a problem at all. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you're listening to O'Neill right now, give us a call, 404-872-0750, and perhaps you could answer John's question a heck of a lot better than I could.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I wish I could have helped you out a little bit better there, John, but unfortunately I'm not too familiar with the guys up around that area.
I understand, but hey, you just helped me out a lot. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you very much. Have yourself a great weekend. Give us a call again and tell us what happens when you go out.
All right, buddy. Sure will. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now. 404-872-0750 is the number to call. 800-972-8255 if you're outside the Metro Atlanta calling area. Let's get back to some more of these life lessons here. This is one I particularly care for, or that I particularly pay attention to. How to aim a gun. From filing taxes to driving, life often requires us to perform tasks with precision. So, learning the art of aiming can help kids understand this because it will develop concentration skills and focus in a world where so much distraction around us takes away from our ability to do so. Focus, and let me tell you something, focus is pretty important here when you talk about kids in today's age because there is always something there to distract them. And when you learn how to focus on something, it becomes, let's just say, it makes life a little easier when you're not distracted, when you can actually concentrate on a single task, perform it to the best of your ability, and knock it out. So, for example, one of the things that I like to do to help myself with my aiming is a little skill. I take a .22, which is perfect for kids, out to the range. I set up a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper at about 35 or 40 yards, and on that sheet of paper, spaced out, are numerous 1-inch circles. And my task is to take my .22 and put it in groups of 5, as many as I can in each one of those circles across that page. If I don't, I move it on to the next dot and try it again. And I keep repeating that until I figure out a tempo, a breathing pattern, a trigger pull, everything to make it as accurate as possible. And by doing so, what I've also taught myself is that focusing on that task, being dedicated to that singular task, will help me eventually in the long run adapt those same skills to other tasks. All right, and let's see. I'm going to take a little break here before we continue on with these life lessons, and let you all know before I go that you need to check out O'Neill Outside book. There's People and Places Along the Way, the book from O'Neill. You can order it online at Amazon.com in a Kindle version. You can also order an autographed version as well. Check it out. You can order it on O'NeillOutside.com. Just jump on over there, hit the big orange Order Now button, and the rest will be taken care of. We're going to be coming back in a few. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, and coast to coast via Sports Map Radio. Good morning and welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Let that roll for a minute. All right, I guess I got to get back to it. Most beautiful male voice in the history of recording, Nat King Cole with Mona Lisa. Oh, one of my all-time favorites. For O'Neill, it's Pavarotti that puts him in the blissful musical wonderland. For me, oh, give me some of that, Nat. I got to love it. 404-872-0750 is the number. 800-972-8255. Give me a call. Let me know what you got going on in the outdoor plans today. I'm going to get right back in here to the life lessons we can learn from hunting, fishing, and camping. And here's a very important one. How to come up empty-handed. Now, this isn't the same as chucking the fish back or walking away. No. This is the life lesson of what happens when, despite our best planning, our best efforts, and our best intentions, we sometimes fail. We don't always come home with that prize buck. We don't always come home with the fish. A lot of times we come home empty-handed. And we have to learn how to deal with the failures of life. This is a very important lesson, in my opinion, because to dwell on failure is a very negative and very self-destructive behavior. Learning to plan, work, and sometimes come up short is a great lesson because all it does is just teach you that there's going to be another opportunity out there. There's going to be another chance to harvest that buck. There's going to be another chance to catch that fish on Lanier. There's going to be another chance to come home with some meat for the freezer. And so when you learn to sometimes overcome these disappointments, it's going to help you get through the disappointments that inevitably come through life. Look right now. We've all been working hard at our lives and our jobs and so on, and all of a sudden COVID comes along and now everybody's plans are trashed. It's not your fault, y'all. We've come up against a wall with some failures in our lives, be it because of unforeseen circumstances. We can move on. But the most important thing about this whole concept is when you go out to the woods, when you go out to the lake, you cannot expect a participation trophy. There are none in hunting and fishing. If you learn to live with the disappointments of these failures, you'll be able to revel more in your successes. Okay? Number 8 here on my list, how to share what you harvest. Now, think about this. A lot of people say that it's mandatory that you should give to your fellow man. Well, I'm not going to say it's mandatory. I'm not going to say that you have to prove what a nice person you are. But what I will say is it's beneficial to think of people and to serve them from your heart. If you can do so, by all means. If you go out and harvest a deer and it's more meat than you will need, then drop off the extra at a food bank or a homeless shelter or any other place that accepts your hunts. And what you teach children then is that if you have a little more than you need, sure, store for the future and everything like that, but if you can, take a little time, serve your fellow man, help him out a little bit, because the handout or the hand up you give today might be the hand that you get later on that you might need in life. Okay? Number 9 on my list, and this is a very important one, follow the rules and regulations. And it doesn't matter what these rules and regulations are. They could be for the rules of the road, or they can be for how you work on your job. Whatever the rules and regulations are, they're there for a reason. And by obeying these rules, you teach the children that it's ethical, first of all, but secondly, it helps you understand that you can't go through life just completely willy-nilly. There has to be some means of reining in, if you will, behavior. And when children learn what's acceptable, then they can develop and grow to be better adults. Okay, another one here that I've got that I think is actually very important, and I think may actually be a little underrepresented sometimes in people's thinking, is that when you go hunting, fishing, and camping, you're creating habits for a healthy lifestyle in your kid. If it's hiking to the fishing hole or walking ridge lines to scout deer, you're outside and you're active. You're moving. Outdoor activity teaches kids to well, honestly, get outside and move instead of sitting behind a computer or playing Nintendo or VR or whatever silly indoor stuff just saps away their time. It'll make them healthier. They will feel better. They will be able to achieve more, say in school, if they decide to go after sports. That healthy lifestyle will be built into them, and they will more likely, as adults, make the smart decisions when it comes to their diet or exercise or anything else for that matter regarding their health. It's a great way to lay the foundations about how much better nature and natural things are for you than the processed and junky stuff that typically is associated with processed foods, supermarket stuff, that kind of thing. Nature always trumps the processed, and this is a great way, the outdoors is a great way to show children that, okay? Here's another one, and apropos for the times. Getting outside, hunting, fishing, and camping teaches your kids how to survive a crisis. Look at the way things are right now. Look at the way things were going down as the COVID breakout occurred. Rushes on the supermarkets, lack of food, lack of drinks, people mobbing each other, trying to get hold of resources. When you teach your children about hunting and fishing, what you're teaching them is independence, self-reliance, the use of nature as a source of protein, be it in the way of fishing or hunting. You can also incorporate lessons about wild berries or foods that can be harvested in nature. Well, do you think the animals are going to Publix? I don't. They know what to eat. You can help your kids learn that as well. And, also through the use of hunting and fishing, you teach kids to store up for the future. You got a freezer full of meat? Great. You're not going down and fighting the crowds at the supermarket when there's a crisis. You've got plenty of stocks for long term when it comes to other items, adopted to other items, toilet paper, soap, whatever. But the bottom line is that getting outside and teaching independence and how to take care of oneself goes a long way to helping adults when the unexpected happens. And finally in this list, I would say this. One of the greatest things about getting outdoors that you can teach your kids is the importance of quiet, of just listening to what's going on around them. That isn't the constant humdrum of television, electronics, cell phones, all the just the clutter that's everywhere around you in everyday life. It teaches you to get away from that and to focus on just where you're at and what you're doing and the importance of just how being outside and quiet is to your mental health, to your physical health, and to your overall well-being. Learning about getting out in the quiet will also teach them that when peace is achieved, you can really pay attention to what's going on around you. You might be sitting there in the woods and hearing a bird off in the distance, or maybe a squirrel barking up in a tree. But whatever it is, you're more in tune with your environment, you're more focused with what's going on, and it just teaches you to remove all the unnecessary junk that clutters up your mind. So I highly recommend it. There you go. Some hunting and fishing tips or hunting and fishing skills rather, that will help you and your children get through life. And there you go. 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255 is the number to call. And there was something I was tracking down here, unfortunately. It's a story I wanted to broach with you all, actually, about the opposite of good hunting and fishing skills. So you know what? I'm going to put that aside for a moment, and I am going to move on to another topic here.
We have a few phone calls also.
Oh, we do. Oh, we do. You know what? Let's do this. I'm going to put that aside for a minute, and let's hit the phone. I just got word from the home base at WSB that we do have some callers here. Let's go to Mark in Camden County. Good morning and welcome to O'Neill Outside.
Good morning, Scott.
How you doing?
And I'm good. You were earlier talking about deer cartridges, and I've been squeezing the trigger on various cartridge and rifle combinations for about 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the one old venerable round to me that beats the threshold as being, for me personally, the perfect deer cartridge is the old 257 Roberts.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Lay it on me. What do you love about that round?
Well, it meets the threshold for everything you look for in a deer rifle. It's got the range, it's got the energy, recoil, and accuracy are all anywhere from good to excellent. For the average marksman inside of 300 yards, to me it's the perfect round. 117 grain pointed soft point. I could pretty well hit a Coke can. I got an old Remington 77 ultralight in that cartridge, and it's Coke can accurate out to 250 yards as long as you have a good rest.
I'm going to tell you something, Mark. Guess what? Your cartridge shows up on my list of the top cartridges for deer hunting, my friend. You come in at number 6 with that 257 Roberts, sir.
Yep. The only big drawback to it is really the availability of ammunition. I mean, you have to line your ammunition up, and a lot of times you'll have to order it.
Well, but you know what that does for you too, as far as that's concerned, Mark, is that you can actually. Have you ever considered reloading?
Oh yeah, my uncle reloads a lot of my rounds for me, or he used to before he passed. But Hornady still makes a very good cartridge combination for that round, and they're still available. A lot of times you have to order them, but you order 4 boxes. That's plenty to be able to practice some and hunt with for usually a couple of years, unless you're just out shooting all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, good call on that, my friend. Let me ask you this: how comfortable do you feel as far as your outer range for that round if you're going to take a deer?
Longest shot I ever made with that rifle, which the average marksman should not be comfortable with shooting this far, was 476 yards.
Okay. So it
That's
does
range.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was ranged with a laser rangefinder too.
Really? Very, very well done. Very well done, sir. Well, much appreciated for that information. We're going to discuss that 257 Roberts here in a little bit as well. And, yeah, man, and I'll say this. If you do get a little bored, man, look into that reloading. Because when you start tweaking your own bullet formulas, man, you're going to find just how much tighter you can actually get that bullet.
Yeah, I know. I've had a couple of rifles. Individual rifles can have their own, tendencies. And I've had a couple of rifles that if you didn't hand load for them, you couldn't hit a bear in the butt if you were sitting on his back.
You got that right. Yeah, I've run into that same problem myself.
One other cartridge I'll throw out there, too, for a very first deer rifle for a kid would be, it's another old cartridge, would be the old 253,000 Savage.
We might be talking about that one as well. Hey, Mark, I got to split. We're up against the hard break here, but thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. Give us a call back in the future. All right, take it easy now. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, and Coast to Coast on Sports Map Radio. Good morning. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Corey's on the boards, and he is just, he's making it so wonderful to be here this morning with his choice of music. Thank you very much. You're a very classy man. Let's go back to the phones here real quick and do a quick call with John from New York. John, we got about 2 minutes here. What's going on up in New York? Says you got some cold weather coming.
Yes, greetings from the Catskill Mountains, where finally we got a good cold front come through. Scott, it was pretty unique. We had that California smoke haze over our skies for the past week.
Ugh.
And it blotted out the stars, most of the stars at night and such. Now, this cold weather is going to be bringing a change of things. I've been watching the woodchuck. He's still out and about, and the hummingbirds have mostly fled the premises for your area,
they're all in my parents' backyard now in Tennessee.
Yeah. Another activity I've been doing is watching the bats come to roost. They tuck themselves up in the crevices of the old barn or the house here and stuff, and little brown bats we have, just like a little large mouse with wings. And
Cool.
They're pretty neat. All night long they go around and stuff, and then about daybreak, when it starts to get daybreak, I like watching them coming up to roost and tucking themselves in for the day. But also, you mentioned the katydids is a little cricket, grasshopper type thing.
Yeah.
And his old saying, when you first hear the katydids, it's 6 weeks of the first frost, and that is pretty much accurate. I remember the first time I ever did it. I heard one, and I wrote it down, and it was almost to the day we got a frost 6 weeks later and such.
Huh? That's pretty bizarre, man. I wonder if they're tuned into something.
I don't know, but they're not real accurate all the time. Another time I did it was way off.
Yeah, it is what it is. Hey, John, thanks for the call, man. I got to bail on out of here. We're going to the top of the hour. But give us a call next week and let us know what's going on up in New York.
You bet.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 WSB and Coast to Coast on Sports Map Radio. We'll be back for the hour 2 after the top of the news.
O'Neill Outside Radio is brought to you by these fine sponsors. CVA muzzleloaders, it's just a better gun. Bojangles' famous chicken and biscuits. Works Power and Garden Tools. Toyota, let's go places. Visit your local Toyota dealer today. Swaggerty's Sausage, the finest premium pork sausage products. Tough Shed, great storage sheds and custom buildings.
Timbuktu Outdoors, the ideal solution to live bait.
Arctic Ice, the most durable, versatile, and effective cooler packs for the outdoorsman. Terminator, the best food plot implements on Earth. And the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, state parks, and historic sites.
From Black Powder headquarters in the Bojangles studio from Three Falls Cabin in the North Georgia Mountains, O'Neill Outside presents CVA Radio. For anything in the outdoors, this is your source. Listen in and call the show with your comments or questions. And now, here's O'Neill.
Welcome back to O'Neill Outside, hour 2 here. Scott Maxim filling in for O'Neill today, and we are live on 95.5 FM, WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, coast to coast. We can be heard on Sports Map Radio, and we're covering 155 affiliate stations across the United States. You can also listen to the podcasts of this show and other such wonderful awesomeness at WSBradio.com and Waypoint TV, plus O'NeillOutside.com. We've got all the shows video on demand. So if there's a particular program you missed, or if you just want to see what O'Neill looks like, head on over there. Check it out, O'NeillOutside.com. The videos on demand are sitting right at the top of the page. You can't miss them. This hour, I got a few more subjects to talk about. We're going to try to see if we can get the pros and cons of hunting with military surplus weapons in today. I want to talk about poachers. I definitely want to talk about that and how you can report anything if you see something going on in Georgia. And, of course, I will have the Medal of Honor recipient for this week. Your calls. Got a couple of y'all standing by. I'll get to you in just a second here, Daryl and Don. And a whole lot of more outdoor fun. It's all being brought to you this hour by CVA Muzzleloaders, Arctic Ice, Tough Shed, Furminator, Timbuktu Outdoors, Works Tools, Striplings, Snellville Heating and Air, Rocco's, home of the jalapeno poppers, and Riddicritter. Let's go right back to the phones and check in with our old friend Don. How you doing there, Don? Where are you calling from this morning?
Ocean Isle, North Carolina.
Outstanding! What's going on out there to this morning, sir?
It's a little nippy. Feels very good. I grew up on a farm up in North Georgia in the late 40s, and that I remember. And I remember taking my grandmother to the grocery store, and she would purchase black pepper,
Hold on,
sugar.
Don. Don, let's do this. Let's put that on hold for just a minute. We're going to come back after these short messages, and we will pick this conversation up where we left off. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 FM WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, and Coast to Coast on Sports Map Radio. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Going back to the phones here with our good friend Don, calling from Ocean Isle, North Carolina. Sorry I had to leave you hanging there, my friend. I just wanted
That's
you.
all right. I enjoyed all that. Hey, the moral of the story was, in those days, we were pretty well self-sufficient. The only thing my grandmother bought was pepper, sugar, soda, and flour, I think, as best I remember. And the rest of everything we produced on the farms.
Wow.
So, anyway, we're going back to where we were, I guess. I got an area that I got a rodent problem,
Okay.
and I use rat shot to extinguish some of those devils. And I use the little rat shot that has a blue plastic cap on it.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
But during the years previous, when the government was buying all the ammunition, it got hard to get. So I switched to the ammunition that had the crimped in. And those shells are very hard to get out of the chamber once you fire them.
Yeah.
Now, is the only answer, I'm thinking about going to a 22 bunt line. Is that the only answer, or am I using the wrong gun, or what's the problem there?
I would say this, Don. I would explore the concept of going with an air rifle. I mean, are you talking rats, that kind of thing, small rodents?
Yeah.
Air rifle all day long. 22s are sweet and everything for that sort of thing, but the air rifle, it's going to cost you less over the long run. You don't have to worry about ammo, and they're extremely effective. I mean, I've seen pellet guns now from both Gammo and Stoeger that shoot pellets with a Spitzer tip on them almost as fast as a 22. Which is more than enough speed and energy to take care of anything rat-sized. I think you could probably come close to taking a rabbit with that thing. Squirrels for sure, so that's not a problem.
Well, the only thing is, during those years when you couldn't get ammo, I bought a lot of the crimped ends.
Yeah.
So I have that ammo on hand, and I'd like to use it up. So would a bunt line work on that, or is maybe it'd be easier to get the shell casing out of the chamber?
You know, it might be, but I've heard so many problems across the board with just about every gun, and when you're involved shooting crimped cartridges, it's not clean when that cartridge pops. Ladies and gentlemen, what Don's referring to are these cartridges that instead of having a bullet sitting on top of the case is crimped, and inside it's almost like with this rat shot he's talking about. A lot of times it's little tiny pellets, almost like a little tiny shotgun shell. And when the cartridge fires, the crimped edges blow out, and they don't form a nice round shape. They'll often have burrs on them or edges that stick in chambers and make those cartridges difficult to remove. So, yeah, I think you're just going to have problems no matter what. I mean, you can't find any more of those blue tip plastic jobbies anymore.
Yeah, but they're not as easy to get. And I bought a bunch of these things because you couldn't get those during the years that ammunition was in short supply.
Yeah. I wish I had some better news for you there, but I've never heard anything good about, removing those type of shells, those crimp shells. They cause problems with every single weapon you put those things through.
Okay.
I mean, not so much physically to the weapon itself, but just in extraction, you may damage the chamber a little bit from some burrs or whatnot. So, yeah, if you just blow them off, get rid of them, and move on to the next thing, man.
You were talking about giving the food away. Back years ago when we were doing a bunch of fishing, we fished 2 or 3 days a week, and with a crew, and we'd catch a couple 300-pound of fish. We'd clean them, and we never sold any. We gave it away, ate it, and then about once a month we'd have a big fish fry. So anyway, that was a fun years of fishing for me over here.
Absolutely, yeah. Sounds like awful lot of fun. You got anything planned for the weekend, Don?
No, every day's a weekend when you're retired. So
I hope to join you on that extended weekend one day, sir.
Yeah, and I retired when I was 50, so I enjoyed a lot of fishing over here.
Oh, Don, you got it good, my friend. All right, got to get out of here. Let's get a few more calls in. I see I've got 3 on hold, so let's move it on down the line. Thanks for your call, man. Look forward to talking to you again next time.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, have a great one. 404-872-0750 is the number. Let's jump in here to Daryl from Kennesaw. You've been very patient, Daryl. I appreciate it. We'll get to you here in Mac and John in just a bit. What's on your mind today, Daryl?
Well, you're talking about surplus, military surplus rifles.
Yes, sir.
I've got 3.
Okay, lay them on me. What do you got?
British.
I'm sorry?
303 British.
Okay.
8mm Mauser.
Okay.
7mm Mauser. And I've had them all cut. They were my dad's rifles, and we started customizing them before he passed away. But we got them all customized. Got scopes on all of them, and they all shoot real good. I mean, just real good. And then talking about another surplus rifle, my son's got one he just got finished with. It's a 7.62 by 54R.
The Mosin Nagant. I got one myself. It's one of my absolute favorite guns, and I'm going to level with you. If the world goes completely zombie, that's the one I'm taking out in the field.
Well, what he's done stripped that thing completely down, redone the bolt system, put an Archangel stock on it, 10-round magazine. And I mean, you talking about put a big old nice scope on it.
Oh yeah.
You talking about a TAC driver.
I got one question regarding that gun, Daryl. Now, is that the M44 carbine, or is that the full size version of the Mosin Nagant?
The full size.
Full sized. Okay, so I forgot, how long is the barrel on that thing?
26 inches, I believe.
And it's a heavy gun too.
I believe. Yeah, it's a real heavy gun. Don't kick much. That's the Russian version of the 30-06.
Oh, and that round, that 7.62 54R, ballistically speaking, falls right in between the 308 and the 30-06. So anything those will take, that round will take.
Now, my favorite gun, like I told you, call screener a while ago, I'm partial to a 7mm bullet, a 284 caliber.
Yes, sir.
I'm partial to that. 7mm 08. To me, it's the best round around. I mean, it just is. I mean, I got a 7 mag too. I shoot it a lot. 7mm 08, 308 case, 7mm bullet, long range, short range, kill anything in North America except for Tyrannosaurus Rex and polar bears. But I mean, it just does real good. And a lot of people's going to the 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
But everybody's got to realize before the 6.5 Creedmoor, all these 1,000, 1,200 yard shots on these silhouette targets were always made with a 7mm 08.
So, in other words, in your world, it's not much of an improvement, is it?
Well, I don't like the 6.5 Creedmoor. My son, he's in the Army, but they've got them, and all right, say if a deer's out there 20 yards, oh, yeah, it's got 20, 30 yards. Yeah, it's going to take it down. But that bullet's designed not to start expanding until it gets out there 150, 200 yards.
It actually was developed as a target round for 1,000-yard shooting contests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I've shot deer, I've shot bear, I've shot hogs with my 7mm 08. I ain't had no problem.
No, that round that round is pretty much good for just about everything here on the North American continent, I think.
Oh yeah, you can get anything from 100. I think it's something like 120 grain bullet all the way up to 175.
Right.
And
on.
I shoot a 139 under the interlock, and it's a TAC driver. It's a Ruger M77.
Thank you. I was just going to go there and ask you what the rifle was. You say a Ruger?
Yep, Ruger M77 Hawkeye.
Outstanding rifle.
I've got something that, if you can find one for a kid, it's not a real long-range shooting gun, but anything 50, 75 yards, I've also got a Ruger bolt-action M77/44 Magnum.
Interesting.
And it's a bolt-action.
Well, Daryl, on that note, Daryl, I'm going to have to boogie. We are coming up on the break, but I want to thank you for the call, man. A lot of good information there.
Good deal.
All right. Have yourself a great one. We'll talk to you again. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 FM WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, and Coast to Coast on Sports Map Radio. Come on back. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. And what you're hearing there is the greatest tenor who ever lived. That's the guy that makes O'Neill's audio world perfect. Luciano Pavarotti bumping in. Thank you again, Corey, for your excellent music choices this morning. All right, let's get back to the phones here. I've got Captain Mac patiently waiting to give us a Lake Lanier report. What's going on, Mac? How you doing?
I'm well, Scott. Yourself?
Highly caffeinated, very motivated, sir.
Saying that extra time gave me more time to drink more coffee, so it wasn't bad.
There you go. Well, first off, the real quick question now before we get in anything here. I hope you were listening earlier. We had a caller call in asking about some questions regarding guides on Lake Oconee. Do you know anybody out there or a place where he can find some of that?
Oh, absolutely. Oconee actually has it's a very good lake, and it's got a lot of really good fishing guides. I know a lot of them personally. Mark Smith, Jimmy Holmes, Doug Nelms are all really good fishing. You can find them online. I don't know their numbers off the top of my head, but they're excellent people. They're excellent fishing guides. And very versatile. So, yeah, any one of those guys are doing a great job.
And this is what makes hosting O'Neill's show so great, because when I don't have the answers, inevitably somebody calling in does. In this case, it's absolutely your wheelhouse, Mac, and I appreciate you giving us that information. So what's going on at Lanier this week, man?
Well, things started changing quick this week. The storm, or the remnants of Hurricane Sally, energized the bite, all that cloud cover and wind and rain. Really got a lot of fish shallow, got them moving, a lot more topwater. And then, of course, we've got this cooler weather coming in this week. So we're really transitioning to fall fishing this week. You can see it starting to happen. The lake temperature's dropping. And not that that's a bad thing, but just be aware if you go out there today, you got some different patterns that might work for you. I definitely had me a swim bait or a topwater tied on, particularly the first couple hours of the day. If you're striper fishing, and the good thing about the topwater and the swim bait thing, you're fishing for bass or stripers whether you want to or not. They both respond to it well. So no matter what your target is, that'd be a good way to start your morning. And then once you get in midday, if that does slow down a little bit, we've had a good live bait bite and a good umbrella bite for the stripers. And if you want to catch a bass, of course, a worm on the drop shot is going to be hard to beat, just for numbers particularly. And if you'll rip a big flutter spoon around some of the submerged islands, that'll get you some of the bigger fish. So fish is pretty good. You're a little versatile, maybe, or you got more techniques to choose from now than we did a couple weeks ago. But all in all, very good.
I would also say this. I'm the kind of guy that a lot of people say they don't want to be outside when it's overcast or a little chilly like it's starting to get here in the morning in the 60s. For me, this is my element. I love this weather. So I think it's a little more refreshing to get out on the lake without getting beat down by sun all day long.
Now, it's kind of nice when you go out there and you have to have a jacket that first couple hours.
Yeah.
But it warm. No, this is and I was looking at the weather forecast earlier. It looks like this week we've got a nice stretch. Cool in the morning, but warming up nicely. It's going to be dry. So yeah, we've got some. And typically, late September and October, we get some really nice days to be outside. So
outstanding.
We're starting that now. So get out there and enjoy it. Of course, everybody's decision now. It's always a struggle. You're going to fish. You're going to hunt.
Yeah,
that's the decision.
Tough. First world problems there, man.
Yeah, no doubt. That's well spoken. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a good weekend for everybody to get out on the lake, get the dust off your top waters, and get out there and start chunking and winding.
Outstanding, Captain Mac. If somebody wants to hook you up as far as your services as a guide, what do they need to do?
They can call us at 770-235-8135, or we're always online at CaptainMac.com.
And I want to also add, Captain Mac, I'm noticing that you've got a prominent spot here on O'NeillOutside.com. Just scroll down the page, y'all. Check out Captain Mac's Tackle Shop. Hit the big old red Shop Now button, and that'll take you straight to Captain Mac's shop, where you can find the latest in umbrella rigs, bucktail jigs, rod holders, and a whole lot more.
And you can find an extended version of this fishing forecast. We put a fishing report up usually on Friday nights if my schedule doesn't get all wacky, but it goes into a lot more detail than we have time to do here.
Outstanding. Well, you are the man when it comes to Lanier and fishing, sir, and I always love hearing from you and getting some great information.
It's good talking to you. It's sounding good on the radio this morning. I hope you have a great weekend.
I am looking forward to it, my friend. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you next time.
Good talking to you, buddy.
All right, take it easy now. 404-872-0750. That's the number to call if you're in the Atlanta metro area. 800-972-8255 if you are outside. And let's see here. Let's go to John in Lilburn. He's got some information here on using the wrong-sized bullet. What's going on, John?
Hey, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for putting the captain on there.
Oh, he's awesome.
Earlier. Yeah. The guide fishing on Oconee. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Oh, yes, no problem.
Moving forward, what I think that guy has done, it's like I had a 7.65 Swiss Magnum, and that was one of the flattest shooting rifles I've ever seen. Now, he said a 7.62. If you mixed those ammos, it would accept it, except the two would jam up in a 7.65. It would fit.
You know, and that even assumes that the cartridges would chamber correctly.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that 7.62R. I don't know. I'd have to look at those two side by side. I don't even know if you could chamber those two.
I'm not positive, because the only reason I say that is because I have both a pistol and rifle 22 mag, and I made the mistake of putting short rifles in there, and that hammer will flatten that shell out to where it won't eject.
Yeah,
and you have to dig it out with your fingernails. So I'm thinking that may be part of his problem. He's chambering the wrong round. Now, he sounded pretty intelligent, so it's not to say that he didn't know what he was talking about. But
right.
I've never had stick before.
Well, it's a different kind of a round in that, like a typical 22 where you've got the lead round sitting on top of the chamber. This one's just a crimped top, and so when that shell blows, it's a mess.
He was using rat shot.
Yeah,
this is a 22 round.
Yeah,
with 20 casing.
Well, it is a 22 round, but I've gotten a hold of some of that rat shot, believe it or not, in 9mm. I played around with it one time with a pistol that I had.
Well,
yeah,
I have as well. I inherited a 9mm pistol, and it works quite well. I've not had to shoot rats, but I mean, it makes a nice pattern.
Yeah. No, and actually, they're very good too. I tend to shy away from the rat shot a little bit because it's not terribly effective. At least in the guns that I've shot. Maybe a larger caliber round would be better. But I know a lot of people carry that for hitting the woods and going out walking trails and stuff, just in case a snake rolls up on them, like a rattler or something.
Yeah, they make good snake guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I could interject just one thing real quick. A friend of mine was in the emergency room, and this man came in, and he overheard him talking to the nurse. I guess he was coming in for a checkup, and the lady asked him how he's doing. He said, much better now that the bite's gone down. And he said, I don't understand. He said, I've had that rattlesnake for 5 years.
Never bit me once.
Yeah, he bit me once. But honest truth, he had a rattlesnake as a pet.
Man, I don't know, man. I sit here and I think about that, and I'm wondering just how shallow that guy's gene pool must be.
He was real, like ankle deep.
If that, I'm thinking puddle. That just
I think you could stand on the pool. Yeah,
one lesson, major lesson. Don't take in wildlife and think that it's going to be a pet. It is a wild animal. It is going to bite you. It is going to react like a wild animal. And in the case of a rattlesnake, it will never be tamed.
Yeah, never. Got just a temperament like
just unbelievable.
You're right, but I thought, what a genius.
Well, you know what? I look at it like this, my friend. I'm hoping the gentleman survived and learned a very valuable life lesson from that snake bite, but I'm also not going to shed a tear because if you keep a snake, a venomous snake as a pet, and you end up getting bit and die from it, I'm sorry, that's Darwin at work.
That's Darwin's taking over. That's right. That's a tragic case of, hey, y'all, watch this.
No good ever comes from any sentence that starts with, hey, y'all, watch this.
Exactly.
All right, John, good call, man. Thanks for checking in with us here this morning. Have yourself
All
a
right.
great
Thank
weekend,
you,
my friend.
sir. Okay.
All right, bye-bye. 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Those are the numbers for you to talk to me here on top of Sassafras Mountain on O'Neill outside. Going right back to the phones. I've got Rich here. Don't know where you're calling from, Rich. It says something about Elite Series versus Bassmaster. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm calling from a place called Wheeling, West Virginia.
I know that town.
You do?
Yes, I do. Hey, I'll check this out. I'm going to go to break here real quick. I just want to touch base with you before I go to break. But O'Neill has, working for him, a host and a master board operator in Houston. We are both West Virginia University graduates.
Oh, West Virginia University. Are you really?
Yes, sir. Class of 92. I can't speak for Karen, but yes, we are both 82. So there you go. Class of 82, class of 92, products of Morgantown, West by God, Virginia, sir.
That's 80 miles from here. It's right on that COVID. They're in the Red Series, which because of all them not obeying the rules, they can't have sports there, and they got problems down there because they're not obeying the rules. So,
well, actually, I'll tell you what. Let's hold that thought, and we'll get right back to it. I'm going to put you on hold here, Rich, and we'll get back to you in a second. I've got to put you on hold for a break and let you know we got the Medal of Honor tribute coming up pretty soon, so you're going to want to stick around for that. You are listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 Atlanta's News and Talk, WSB, and Coast to Coast on Sports Map Radio. Come on back. A little more outdoors left. And the audio bliss continues on O'Neill Outside. Not only the #1 outdoor radio program in America, #1 when it comes to bumper music, thanks to Corey. Appreciate you, my friend. Let's get back to the phones here with Rich up in Wheeling, West by God, Virginia. Sorry about that, Rich. Just wanted to get back to you here after we paid a couple bills. What's on your mind?
There's a show that comes on here after you. It's another fishing show, but they don't take calls or anything like that. But I've heard them talk about the Elite Series, and then I hear about the Bassmaster. And I'm just wondering if that Elite Series is something like maybe AAA baseball or something like that. In other words, do you have to qualify to fish in the Bassmasters, or just have enough money that, or how does that work to get into the Bassmasters? Do you know?
To be honest with you, sir, I do not. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the kind of fisherman that just goes out on a lake, throws a line over, and just waits to see what happens. So, unfortunately, I don't have the answer for that. But if I were to guess, then yes, I would assume that that the Bassmasters would require some kind of a qualification from a lower series of fishing events. So that explanation would seem to make sense to me if that is in fact the case. But again, I'm going to have to leave it up to a caller to inform me on that one.
Yeah, Captain Mack, maybe he knows. But they talk about the Elite Series, and I'm just thinking, is the Elite Series something, well, since you don't know, I just have to ask it, you do have to qualify to get into a lot of different tournaments or maybe races or something like that. You got to qualify to get in there. So I just wonder if making the Elite Series is just like a qualifier to get into but you don't really know. So
no, you see, I'm like the kind of fisherman that, like I said, I'm just in it to be out there. I'm the kind of guy that if I throw the line over and if I don't catch anything, I'm fine. I'm happy to be out on the water, hanging out with my friends and just talking and having a good old time. So, unfortunately, I don't fall into the category of somebody who would know what these Elite Series and such are all about.
Okay, but you must know something, or because they just wouldn't take somebody off the street to do this.
No, sir, I will say that. I occasionally fish and I go out and enjoy it. And as I mentioned, I'm a catch and release kind of guy. But my experience primarily lies in sport shooting, firearms, and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay, that's your specialty.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I love it, and I dare say I'm pretty good at it.
Well, everybody's got to be good at something. So
find what you're good at. Develop your talent to the best of your ability. Stick with it and have fun. That's where I'm at on that.
I'm still waiting to do that.
Right.
Okay, Is O'Neill going to be back next week?
He is going to be back next week, and if you want to, you can check him out on Monday night, 6 o'clock. He's going to be live on Facebook. He'll be taking questions and stories from people that are checking in with him. And you know what? You're going to get your answer if you want to hit him up on Facebook come Monday.
I'm one of those type of people who lives in the past. I don't even have a computer, much less having Facebook or anything like that. I've heard about all like they're not newfangled stuff, but everything would be newfangled to me because I just don't have it. I live in the past. I just use a phone.
Hey, no problems, Rich. No problems, man. Work with what makes you comfortable. But that being said, if Facebook isn't your bag, O'Neill will definitely be back next Saturday, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer your question for you.
All right, I'll call back next Saturday.
No problem. Have yourself a great one, and sorry I wasn't much help here to you today. But if somebody out there has an answer, please give us a call, 404-872-0750. We'll talk to you later, Rich. All right. Let's take this time to fire up the Medal of Honor recipient if we could. Do it!
Honor, courage, and strength of character. These qualities are embodied by the recipients of the Medal of Honor. Now let's recognize this week's Medal of Honor recipient on O'Neill Outside.
This week's recipient is Major Ralph Chelli. That's Ralph, C-H-E-L-I. The conflict he was involved with, World War II. His military service branch, the U.S. Army Air Corps, predecessor to the Air Force. Medal of Honor action date, August 18th, 1943, and the place, New Guinea. For conspicuous gallantry above and beyond the call of duty in action with the enemy, Major Chelli was leading his squadron in a dive to attack the heavily defended fortifications, intercepting enemy aircraft that centered their fire on his plane, causing it to burst into flames while the squadron was still 2 miles from the objective. His speed would have enabled him to gain necessary altitude to parachute to safety, which he could have done to save his life. But this action would have resulted in his formation becoming disorganized and ultimately exposed to the enemy. Although a crash was obviously inevitable, he courageously elected to continue leading the attack in his blazing plane. From a minimum altitude, the squadron made a devastating bombing and strafing attack on the target. The mission was completed. Major Chelli instructed his wingman to lead the formation back to safety, and he crashed into the sea. Major Chelli was 25 years old. Pretty amazing stuff. You're listening to O'Neill Outside. That was our weekly Medal of Honor recipient. O'Neill thinks it's very important for us to all know exactly what a hero is, and that truly is the actions of a hero. 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. I'm running a little low on time here, y'all. If you want to give me a call, please do so. But right now, I'm going to blow through rather quickly these rifle cartridges. The best rifle cartridges for white-tailed deer. And a lot of this is strictly opinion, but there's a little bit to some of what's going on from the standpoint of most of the shells that we're going to talk about here, most of the cartridges, are short cartridges. The 30-06, for example, it's a long cartridge, so running a bolt back, ejecting, and reloading a cartridge is a little less efficient than a lot of these on this list, and therefore it's been kind of marginalized. Now, don't get me wrong, 30-06 is a tremendously awesome round for taking deer, but we're talking about a cartridge that was invented in the late 1800s, and there have been technological advances since that have come up with some other awesome whitetail cartridges. So what are you looking for? The ideal blend of bullet energy. You want to think about that because you want as quick a kill and as least suffering kill as possible for the animal you're harvesting. Mild recoil on your shoulder, so it's easy to shoot and easy to shoot accurately. And for thin-skinned animals, 100 to 250 pounds, you want a .24 to .284 caliber bullet weighing 120 to 140 grains, going from 2,700 to 3,000 feet per second. These are some parameters you want to consider. If it falls below those parameters, you're risking hurting the animal and inducing some needless suffering to the animal. We don't want that. And anything over these ranges is just kind of overkill. Yeah, it'll get the job done, but it's not the most efficient means of doing so. So, without further ado, Let's start with the venerable 30-30 Winchester. It's a 140 grain bullet, 2,465 foot per second traveling speed, delivering 193 foot-pounds of force at the muzzle of the rifle. This round is primarily the round that you will find being used with lever action rifles. Why? Because the lever action is outstanding in the brush. You don't have a bolt hanging up on any branches, and these bullets deliver enough energy at 200 yards to drop a deer with no issues whatsoever. Okay? Classic American round. The only downside to the round is that being a horizontal magazine in the gun, the bullets line up one after the other, and you have to use either a rounded tip bullet to avoid firing the next one in the line, or a Spitzer tip like one found on Hornady that compresses because it's made of polymer to also prevent the primer ahead of it from firing. So 30-30 Winchester, we'll start with that one. We'll move on. The 270 Win, another great bullet. 130 grains, traveling 3,060 feet per second with 2,315 foot-pounds of force at the muzzle of the gun. This travels, this is a great round for elk and mule deer as well. Larger animals, very, very good round. The 257 Weatherby Magnum, that's a 100-grain bullet traveling at 3,500 feet per second with 2,721 foot-pound of force at the barrel. The one concern with this gun, it is great. It is one of the best .25 caliber gun rounds to take deer, but it's a very light round. So you have to get a very strong version of this bullet, because being so small with traveling at so much energy, when it hits the animal, if it hits a bone, the bullet fragments in all kinds of directions, and it wrecks a good chunk of your harvest. So you want to make sure you get a higher quality bullet from a company like Hornady, for example, that doesn't have that characteristic at a closer range. The 25-06 Remington is another good one. 115 grain bullet, 3,220 feet per second, travel speed, 2,300 foot-pounds of energy at the barrel. Another great one, and real easy to shoot as well. Very little recoil. Very, very good round. Here's another one we talk about, and this one goes to our concept of using some really good milsurp weapons. The 7x5 7mm Mauser round, 139 grain bullet. It's a little larger, 2,660 feet per second, average 2,184 foot-pounds of force at the muzzle. Plenty of power to take deer. Moving on, we talked about this one earlier, the 257 Roberts. Great round for deer, 117 grain bullet, 2,945 feet per second travel speed, 2,253 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle, and an absolute laser beam round for taking deer. The 308, my personal favorite, 308 Winchester. This round is my favorite for two reasons. One, it's extremely flat shooting, very good round. Two, that round also has versatility outside of a bolt action. You can use that in an AR pattern rifle if you're looking for a semi-auto. That way, you have a perfect round for doing a little hog hunting with that AR pattern rifle. It's spectacular. And actually, I've talked with some police officers on their SWAT teams. That's their bullet of choice, at least in the guys that I talked to over in DeKalb County. So there you go. Moving on. The 243 Winchester, another 100-grain bullet, another one you have to be careful of. If it hits some bone, it will fragment. 2,960 foot per second travel speed, 1,945 foot-pound of force at the muzzle. It's a nice little beast. The 260 Remington, same story there, 130-grain bullet, 2,930 feet per second, 2,459 foot-pounds of force. This is an interesting one. It's a 308 case that's necked down to take that 264 diameter bullet. So you're going to get a lot more speed behind it, and it's going to really, really pop that deer nice. Going back to this classic, the 7mm .08 Remington, outstanding round. Great for advanced shooters, great for younger shooters, extremely accurate, easy to use, soft shooting. It's a large bullet, 140 grains, traveling at 2,770 feet per second. hitting with 2386 foot-pound of force at the muzzle. It's one of the most versatile rounds you can get your hands on. No question about it. It is an outstanding round. And number one on this list anyway, and one of our callers was banging on it earlier, the 6.5 Creedmoor. That's right. Former target round, good for out to 1,000 yards, converted to a hunting round. 130 grain bullet, 28.25 feet per second travel speed, 2303 foot-pound of force at the muzzle, and an awesome round. You're listening to O'Neill Outside. We'll be back in just a bit. We're going to wrap it up, and we're going to get on outside after that. You're listening to 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, and Sports Map Radio. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. We only got a couple more minutes left, and I see I've got Hank the Yank here with a fly fishing report. We got to get this thing in here before we go. What's going on, man?
Go fish. How'd I do?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Yeah, the fishing is good. The streams are unfortunately still blown out because of all the Sally we had up here. So you're not going to be able to trout fish a whole lot. You might, if you wanted to do anything today with a fly rod, you might be able to go up to the North Georgia mountains into the small streams and catch the wild rainbows up in the high elevations. That's probably going to be your only shot. All the Chattahoochee here in Atlanta is completely blown out. Lanier, as you know, you heard from Mac, Lanier is fishing great.
Yeah.
The Lanier fishing report is really good. The Striper started this past week for fly fishermen who want to get out there and wield a whippy stick, and overall everything is good.
That's great to hear, man. I'm happy to hear that. And actually, I'm happy to hear from you, man. We haven't talked in a while.
I know we haven't. Can I give you a shameless plug?
Shamelessly plug away, sir.
Okay, so I just got the word last week. The book is available. My upcoming book, Fly Fishing for Freshwater Striped Bass, is now available on Amazon, Books A Million, and Barnes & Noble for pre-ordering. So that'll be due out in about 4 weeks, but they're taking pre-orders now.
Hey,
so
look,
if you have insomnia and you can't fall asleep, this is the book for you.
No, wrong. If you want to know how to do something absolutely perfectly and expertly in the way of fly fishing, this is the book for you.
Look at you. Look at you. I can already tell you're on 2 or 3 Pepsi Maxes already.
Wow, you know me well, man.
Too well.
All right, Henry, we're going to boogie, man. Thanks for the call.
All right, pal. Have a great weekend. Great show today.
Thank you very much, and you do the same, sir. All right, y'all, we have come to the end of yet another O'Neill Outside. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, O'Neill, for letting me host. Thank you for listening. Come on back next week. In the meantime, you've got Ashley Frasca coming up to tell you how to grow stuff. Dave Baker will tell you how to build stuff. I'm getting out of here. You're listening to 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, and O'Neill Outside is coast to coast on Sports Map Radio. We'll talk to you again.
I once asked a mighty hunter, coming home from the field, how he came to possess such mighty hunting and fishing skill. He said, "I'll tell you a secret, son. I learned everything I know from listening to O'Neill Outside on my radio." O'Neill, O'Neill, O'Neill Outside.